Hi, friends. Hi, friends. How are you? As you can tell, my voice is not quite back. So, today we're going to do a little more reading and a little less talking. But I just wanted to come on and share some of the Monday afternoon reading vibes with you because I've been reading. I've been reading some over the weekend, not completely a lot, because there's always other things happening over the weekend. So, I'm going to tell you the books that I have been reading as much as I can. One of the books that I've been reading is a candidate for the BookTube Prize. My ballot for the BookTube Prize has to be submitted this weekend. So I have to finish all my BookTube Prize reading before the weekend. My cozy little library is in the house. Hi, V. How are you doing? Thank you so much for being here with me. I was just saying that I've been reading some things for the BookTube Prize. Still reading. I still have 2 books to finish. So I'm in the process of reading one of the books. And I'm still waiting to get a copy of the final book. The ballots are due this weekend. So I am trying to get a copy of the remaining book that I need. I've been waiting for a copy to come in from my local library for some time, and I'm not sure why. When they say that they have multiple copies of the book and there are 4 people on the waiting list, excuse me, I assume that that means I'm going to get the book in a few days. Excuse me. But that hasn't happened, and I've been waiting for a really long time. So I put in a request from the New York Public Library System, which means I have to travel to go get the book. And it is actually, I don't want to say it's not popular, but there are limited copies of the book in the library system that is available to me. So I think maybe tomorrow and Wednesday. I'm not sure yet. I might not be here on live for a few days because I'm going to need to go get a copy of the book. So I may need to travel to go to the other library, which takes a lot of my time to do those things. But however it works out, I'm going to try to finish. I'm going to try to get the book and read the book before Friday when my ballot is due. The ballots are due sometime on the weekend. When is March 30th? That's the day the ballots are due. So the ballots are due next Monday. Okay. So I do have a few days. I'm not stressed. But in the meantime, I am reading my 5th book for the prize. I'm reading this one. I think I told you the other books that I have read thus far. So I'm reading this one. This is a candidate for the prize. This is book number 5 in my assignment. And I have one more to read after that. So I'm not going to tell you anything else about this book. We're just going to put it down. We're just going to put it down. Other things that I have been reading include The Grimke's The Legacy of Slavery in an American Family. And this is by Carrie K. Greenidge, who is an African American author. That's the author picture right there. And she seems to be a very young woman, very accomplished young woman. She is a Mellon Assistant Professor in the Department of Studies in Race, Colonialism, and Diaspora at Tufts University. She is also the author of Black Radical, The Life and Times of William Monroe Trotter, which won a history prize, the Mark Linton History Prize. This book is about a family that is apparently very well known. I was not familiar with the family name, so I'm coming into reading this book with pretty much a blank slate. This is a book that my friends and I had considered as the book that we would read for our Black History Month buddy read. So I decided that even though this was not the book that we ended up reading together, that I was going to still check out the book because when it was, it's kind of mentioned for consideration, I found the synopsis to be quite intriguing. So I picked it up. But again, I didn't know anything about this family. I I did not know why this name would be like instantly recognizable to people, like the Grim Kids as a title. It seems like you would have to have some knowledge of who the Grim Kids are for this to be like an arresting title. You walk into the bookstore and you have to choose between like um I don't know, another book with a title that mentions like names of people. So, like, I read David McCullough's The Wright Brothers a few months ago. That was another buddy read that we did. And you know who the Wright brothers are? They are pioneers in aviation. So, when you see a book that says the Wright brothers, you know exactly what you're going to, or you know who you're going to read about. You might not know what to expect in terms of content, but you know who you're going to read about. I've never heard the Grimke name before. And maybe that's just me. Maybe this is a name that's instantly recognizable to you. So, when I read the synopsis, this is what I found out. Sarah and Angelina Grimke, the Grimke sisters, are revered figures in American history, famous for rejecting their privileged lives on a plantation in South Carolina to become firebrand activists in the North. Their anti slavery pamphlets, among the most influential of the antebellum era, are still read today. I've never read those pamphlets. I've never heard of these women. So, was I just out of the loop for not having known these names? Yet, retellings of their epic story have long obscured their Black relatives. In the Grimke's, award winning historian Kerry K. Greenidge presents a parallel narrative, indeed, a long overdue corrective, shifting the focus from the white abolitionist sisters to the Black Grimke's and deepening our understanding of the long struggle for racial and gender equality. That the Grimke sisters had Black relatives in the first place was a consequence of slavery's most horrific reality. Sarah and Angelina's older brother, Henry, was notoriously violent and sadistic, and one of the women he owned, Nancy Weston, bore him three sons, Archibald, Francis, and John. While Greenwich follows the brothers' trials and exploits in the North, where Archibald and Francis became prominent members of the post Civil War Black elite, her narrative centers on the Black woman of the family. From Weston to Francis's wife, the brilliant intellectual and reformer Charlotte Fortin, to Archibald's daughter, Angelina Weld Grimke, who channeled the family's past into path breaking modernist literature during the Harlem Renaissance. So she's a Harlem Renaissance author. She is a very well renowned name. I just wasn't familiar with her. And so, what is interesting about this book is because I don't have that prior knowledge of who these women are, these white abolitionist women activists. I don't have those like preconceived notions to dispel. So I'm reading all of this as a single take. And I'm finding that to be quite interesting because what the author is trying to do here is to get readers who do have those preconceived ideas of the two white women of the family. Um, if that is your knowledge of this family, then here's a take on the other members of the family, other names that you may be familiar with, and here's how they are related. So I'm finding something very fascinating about this too, is that so I like that this book, she gives us a cast of characters, like characters in a novel, except this is nonfiction. So she's giving us, this is really a family tree, character sketches of the members of the family that we're going to be introduced to in the reading of the book. And it's quite extensive. So it starts here and all of this, two more full pages. And then I think that's it. It stops there. But we meet two women with the same name. There's Angelina Weld Grimke. She's a daughter of the three brothers who were just mentioned. So the nephews of the two white abolitionist women, Sarah and Angelina Grimke's, their nephews are Archibald, Francis, and John. So Sarah and Angelina are the white members of the family. Their white brother had children with a black woman. And so their three nephews are mixed race: Archibald, Francis, and John. And Archibald's daughter, also named Angelina. So there's an Angelina who's a great aunt and an Angelina who's the great niece. They're related by that great niece, great aunt link, and they have the same name. So it's a little confusing. And so I'm saying all of that to say I'm reading, and because I don't know who these people are, with an a priori knowledge, I keep kind of getting, I keep having to remind myself, okay, so they're both named Angelina Grimke. They both have the same nickname, Nana. So it's a little confusing. I'm really interested in the story, but every time I read the name and I have to remind myself, who am I? What part of the history am I in? Who is this one? Is this the mixed race lady or is this the white lady? Um, the great aunt and great niece. So, yeah. But it's really interesting because, like I said, I didn't know anything about these names. And when we read about the family and the motivations for the two sisters, the two white sisters, the two sisters from the white part of the family who rejected their life in South Carolina, they had status. They were daughters of a wealthy man, and when he died, he left provision for them to continue to be wealthy, and they wanted to reject all of that so that they could live on their own. They wanted to move away from the comforts that continuing to stay in that place would have afforded them. So they actually left and went to the north to associate with the Quakers, the Friends, the Quakers, who were a strict abolitionist group. And so it is about their decision to reject their ancestry and their lineage and their links to the life that enslavement had provided their family, all the benefits and all the comforts that their lives had because they had enslaved people. And to leave that was a very significant thing, um, especially for young women at that time. And so I think in writing this book, the author doesn't want to minimize the contribution that these two women made, but she also doesn't want that to overshadow the contributions that the great nieces, Angelina Weld Grimke, made, and to also show the links between these people, these different members or different branches of the same family. So I'm finding it intriguing. This is a book that I am currently reading actively that I can talk to you about. That's why I'm talking so much about it. So hi, Emmy. Hi, Sophie. Emmy Clips One is at the house. Thank you so much for being here. Just chatting a little bit about my current read. I'm reading The Grimkes, Carrie K. Greenidge, The Legacy of Slavery in an American Family. And yeah, so that's one of the books that I'm currently reading. I also have a package to open. Today is, let's call this Unboxing Monday. Got a package over the weekend and I decided to save it to share it with you. So I'm going to open this in like a minute or so. I just need to figure out where a blade to open the package. So I lost my voice, got a little cold, and I'm trying so hard to get rid of it. I've done all the things. I've done the the bush remedies. I've done the home remedies with the honey and lemon. That hasn't worked. I've tried medical treatment. I've taken a couple of different tablets, and there's this one that we have like a powder that you just like put it on your tongue and let it dissolve, and it's supposed to help with the cough, and none of those things have helped. So I'm just hoping that it will run its course very soon and I can just get better. So I'm going to unbox, I'm going to open this package and share it with you. And then I'm going to read. I think for the rest of the time, I'm just going to read because I can't talk. So if you've been reading recently, I would love to hear from you what you have been reading and how you've been finding it. I've also been reading. So one of the things, I'm going to tell you about two more things. Um, One of the things is Middle Grade March is happening. If you are familiar, Middle Grade March is the reading plan during March to read books that are specifically geared for middle grade readers. But a lot of times when we read them as children, they become favorite books and we continue reading those books and authors into adulthood. And so the plan is really to revisit the goodness and happiness that those books provide us when we read them, no matter what our age group. So I have been reading Stuart Little with my daughter, and we've been reading it slowly. We've been reading a chapter every day. No, we've been reading a chapter each time we read it, but we haven't been reading it every day because we read other books sometimes. And so we've been reading it at night. So Stuart Little by E.B. White, who's the author of Charlotte's Web. Um, I guess that's E.B. White's most popular book. But Stuart Little is interesting. It's really interesting. And we have been really enjoying it. And I have been intending to just read ahead and finish it on my own. But because I haven't read the book before, and I'm sharing this experience of reading it with my daughter, I'm liking the fact that we are both experiencing the book for the first time together. So even though I intended to just read the whole thing and just finish it up, I'm letting myself pace it out that we read it together, one chapter each day that we read it. So hopefully we'll be done this week because we only have, I think, 3 chapters left. And so Stuart Little, if you are not familiar, if you, like me, had never read the story before, it's about a family where the mother gives birth to a child, and the child looks like a mouse. And so, what is interesting to me is whether or not he is a mouse, because he is described as being very mouse like. He is small like a mouse. He looks like a mouse. And you know that saying, if it walks like a duck and it quack and it talks like a duck, chances are it's a duck. So if it looks like a mouse and it acts like a mouse, is it a mouse? But Stuart Little is a part of this little family, and he has an older brother who is who doesn't quite understand why Stuart gets away with some of the things that he does. And because he is so small, the family has to make all these adjustments for him. Um, he's also he grows like a mouse. So, human babies have this period where they are very helpless for a long time, and it takes a long time before they can walk and talk and do things for themselves. Most other animals recover a lot faster, or maybe not recover, but mature faster. So they're able to do things much quicker. And so, because Stuart has mouse-like tendencies, Stuart could walk and talk very quickly after birth, and climb and do all the things. So the family has made all these adjustments for Stuart to be part of the family, but they've also given him a lot of independence and agency, just because as a young creature, I don't know if I should say child or mouse, he could do a lot of things that if he were a human, he wouldn't have been able to do. So the book is about Stuart's adventures, his friendships, the things that his decisions and how they impact him as well as the other members of the family who are very different from him. So I'm liking it. It's very adventure, like an adventure story, but also with the character staying very close to home, because the fact that he is so different from his family means that almost every experience that he has is an adventure. It's not something that his family members could tell him what to do and what to expect. So I'm liking that. I'm sure there are a lot of lessons to be learned from Stuart Little. I haven't figured out all the stories yet. So yeah, Stuart Little by E.B. White. Emmy, this is a recommendation for sure. And because it's a small book, it's small. It's 15 chapters, and the chapters are they're pretty short. I think maybe the longest chapters are like 10 pages, but most of the chapters are some of the chapters are like 4 or 5 pages. So also, I think just the way I have been reading it, because I've been reading it with my daughter, forcing myself to slow all the way down and just enjoy it one chapter at a time, has been really good. I'm really liking the experience. So when we're done with the book, I will tell you exactly how I feel about it. Um, and hopefully I can fully recommend it. But for now, yeah, there's some things that happen in the book. You just generally have to your suspend your belief or thought about reality in order to really immerse in the book. But it's a really enjoyable immersion. So that's another book that I'm reading. I don't have it here. It's on our nightstand, so we can read it at night. But I will bring it to you when I'm finished. um, yeah. So that's the one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was middle grade March. Yeah. So in March, I generally try to pick up at least one middle grade book to participate in middle grade March. Over the years, Krista, who is my friend, my personal friend, Krista's from Books and Jams. Books and Jams is her YouTube channel name. And I met her in person a few years ago. And so sometimes, we try to support each other's channel for sure. And there have been a couple of times where I have participated in sharing recommendations for middle grade March. I didn't do it this time, but there have been a few years where I have shared recommendations, and before the month starts, Krista and the other co-hosts, they'll compile these videos with recommendations from several bookish creators, whether they're all booktubers or not, but bookish creators who are sharing their middle grade book recommendations. And so when I've participated, I have tried to share books that were written for the middle grade age group, but by Caribbean authors. So books that are set quite often in the Caribbean or have characters who are of Caribbean background who live elsewhere. So there have been a few books that I have shared over the years in those like compilation videos. So maybe before the month is over, I'll remember to get some of those books together again and just make a little list for you if you want to check out some middle grade books by Caribbean authors, because that's one of the things that I try to encourage on here. So that was one thing. And then the other thing that I wanted to share with you was that we got a book. We got a package from the publisher. So let's see what's on it, what's in it. And after that, we're going to read. So I'm very excited to have this. I was going to look for a blade, but my scissors are right here. So I have this little container that I put my supplies for my reading journal. So I have some glue. I got some glue. I got some more glue, liquid glue, and glue sticks. I have some of the pictures. Yikes. I have a little envelope or a little Valentine card with some of the pictures that I have cut out with books that I am intending to read soon, like books that are on my physical TBR that I intend to read sometime soon, hopefully. And so when I have read these, I will. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. My package, my little box fell on the ground. I apologize. Emmy says she got jump scared because she had in headphones and it was a sudden noise. Yeah, my box fell to the ground, crash. I am so sorry, Emmy. But I was just showing you what was in my box. So these are pictures that I cut out so that when I'm finished reading them, I can put them in my reading journal. like this. So that's how I keep my reading journal updated. And I try to have the pictures ready. So I usually make like a spread. Sometime like when I'm doing my TBR for the month, or when I receive books from the publishers, I know that I will try to read the book soon. So I'll start, I get a head start and print out the pictures so that I'll have them when I'm ready. I have my highlighters that I use to do my color coding in my reading journal, a couple of pens and markers. And then at the bottom of the box are a lot more pictures. All of these are pictures that I have cut out. Some of these are books that I started reading and didn't finish. So they were on my TBR, and I started reading them. I didn't finish. So I'm not saying that I actively DNF the book, but I stopped reading it. And so I intended to come back, and I just haven't yet. Books that I had on my physical TBR that I took home from the library, like this one, Leanne Moriarty's newest release, which I just haven't gotten to yet. Here, one moment. It's a pretty long book. And even though I want to read it soon. I've gotten it from the library a couple of times. I just haven't had the time to finish it up. So these are all pictures that I have cut out for my reading journal that I just haven't gotten to yet. So I picked up this box because alongside all of those other things that I just showed you, I have scissors. There is this meme, I think, about women and their scissors, that they can't ever find their scissors. And so that actually happened to me a few times, one too many times too. And I decided that because I don't want to constantly be searching for scissors, I have 2 pairs of scissors in the kitchen. One is in our utility drawer, and one is our kitchen shears, which are in the utensil drawer. And aside from that, I have a few like craft scissors. So these are just like little safety scissors that I bought for my daughter. I have about 4 or 5 of them. And so they're in different places. One is in my reading journal kit. So I keep this either in my reading cart, or I keep it in the like little basket that I move around the house depending on where I'm going. So I took it out and I'm putting it back, and I haven't used it yet. And then there are others in the place where we have like the pens and pencils that my daughter will like go to when she wants to do something. She's doing her homework or she's doing a craft. And then I also have a pair that walks around with me in one of my purses, like when I'm going on trips. So I have several pairs of scissors, but somehow when it came to sit down, I thought I didn't have any. But I do. So now we're going to open the package and see what's inside. Emmy said, off topic, did you watch The Amazing Digital Circus, or in short, TADC? No, or at least have you heard about it? I can't say that I have, Emmy, so tell me about it. I don't know about The Amazing Digital Circus, so please tell me about it. Sell me on it. I don't watch a lot of different kinds of media. I watch YouTube videos, and on YouTube, I generally have some creators that I follow, and I'll watch them. I watch a lot of bookish videos, but a lot of the bookish videos that I watch these days seem to be like shorts. And then I have some favorite creators who anything they post, I'll watch. Have a few movies that I'll watch sometimes. Like I like watching Hallmark movies. I'd stopped watching Hallmark movies after Christmas just because I was like completely overloaded by Hallmark movies from having watched them for most of the latter part of the year. But I took a little break, and so now I'm kind of getting back into watching the Hallmark movies on when I have some free time. But I've also been trying to read more. So less watching things and more reading books so I can talk to you guys about them because I really do need to clean up my physical TBR. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yeah, I haven't watched The Amazing Digital Circus. So I'm gonna show you the book. So this is a gift from Penguin Random House. Penguin Random House. So we know what's inside. We have an idea of what's inside because we've seen the package, but we don't know what the actual book looks like yet. So I've closed my eyes so I can show you the book first. Let me see. I was able to scope it out last week, see the feel. I feel like this is the cover. It's not an amazing, like, raised cover, but I think it's raised enough for me to say with confidence that this is the front. Yes, I got it right. This is Beneath, a novel by Ariel Sullivan. Oh, that's gorgeous. Isn't that so pretty? Wow. Beneath by Ariel Sullivan. It's a big book too, man. Okay, so it is blurbed by Jessamine Chan, Veronica Roth, Sarah J. Maas, Jean Kwok, Michelle Min Sterling, all authors that you are familiar with. So the black back says, as long as there's life, we defend it with our own. We go out as one. We come back as one. Welcome to Unit 7, Mission Hope. So this is, the author is national best-selling author of Conform. Ooh, there's stuff inside. I'm so excited. Oh, look at this. There's a patch. So, oh, there's a patch. Oh, it's so pretty. It says Ubi Vita, EB Spes, Ubi Vita, EB Spes. That is so nice. I love patches. So I'm a part of an organization that is like Scouts, but we are sponsored by our church organization. So we have patches. Patches are a thing. I wouldn't put this with my patches for that organization because they're separate, but I love patches. So this is something that I could totally put on my vest. I'm going to have to tell you about that later. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. There's more stuff inside. I think stickers. So pretty. So pretty. Okay, conform no matter the cost. Beneath, we come back as one. Those are the lines on the stickers. Those are pretty. And then it has a printout of the characters. And there's some information on here that would probably mean more when I've read the book. Look at the end papers. This is gorgeous. Oh, look at the cover. Oh, this is gorgeous. This is really pretty. I love when a book has a really nice naked hardback. This is beautiful. I love a black book. Yeah, this is nice, right, Emmy? Emmy says, okay, so Emmy's telling me about the book. We will read your comment in a second, Emmy. So that's the author picture right there. Ariel Sullivan. Ariel Sullivan is the author of Conform. She lives in Connecticut with her husband, 2 sons, and their 2 French bulldogs. Growing up a military brat, Sullivan moved every 2 years. As a perpetual new kid, she often observed from the outskirts where a deep love of reading was born. When she isn't writing, Ariel Sullivan loves to read everything from poetry to psychology, bake with her sons, listen to live music, and travel. This is gorgeous. 23-year-old Sasha Cadell knows time is running out in the underground city filled with survivors of the nuclear fallout 6 years ago. She works in the expansion sector trying to escape the memories of those she lost. Her bleak existence is upended when Tristan Hayes, a stunningly handsome, frustratingly determined commander of the force, recruits her to join him and his elite team of soldiers as they embark on a secret mission to the surface. Okay. So this is an explosive dystopian romance and the prequel to Conform. So I guess if you've read Conform, you could read this, but you could also start with this. That's really interesting. So thank you so much, Penguin Random House and Valentine Books, for this gift. I'm super excited to have it. I'm gonna try to add this to my TBR maybe for early April. It's about 450 pages. I have a lot of other bookish commitments, but we will add this as well. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for sharing in my bookish acquisition. Oh, love it, love it. So Emmy said the show. Okay, so this is the show, The Circus. Let me see. What was it called again? Okay, so it's called The Amazing Digital Circus. It's a show on YouTube by channel Glitch. It has 8 episodes right now, but it ends at episode 9. It's a literal series, like 20 to 30 minutes for one episode. Episode 8 came out March 20th. And the show is about humans being trapped in a circus, where they join by putting on a headset, I believe. And there's a catch. You can't leave. The ringmaster is Kane, and the cast names are Pomni, Kinger, Jax, Gangle, Zubul, Ragatha. I'm not going to say anything more because I fear it will be spoilers. You don't need to read all of it or not at all. You can look at it, but because I really wrote much about it. Oh, no. Thank you. Thank you so much for the intro. I will check it out. As a matter of fact, let me save this. And just in case, I'm taking a picture of it on my phone. I am. Is that like the equivalent of the boomers who print emails? I take a picture. I could have taken a screenshot. I know I could have. But when I'm going to look for it, the place that I'm going to look for it would be on my phone. And that's why I did that. So I'm going to check it out, Emmy. So the next time we have a live on here, I will tell you if I've been able to watch it and what I think of it. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate the recommendations. I read a lot, but I also watch a lot of videos. So I'm always happy to receive your recommendations. So thank you so much. All right, what we're gonna do, it's 2 o'clock. It's exactly 2 o'clock. It is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, daylight saving time in New York City. I'm going to set a 20-minute timer, 25. I'm going to set a 25-minute timer and I'm going to read. If you are reading with me, then let me know what you're reading. And I'm going to try to make some progress on something. I don't know what I'm going to read yet. I'll tell you about it when I come back on. But I'm going to put on a 25-minute timer. Before I do that, I'm going to go check on my food because I'm cooking. But we will be back at 2:25 to talk about what we've been reading or watching. So I'll see you at 2:25. Okay? See you later. All right, we're gonna come on back. We're gonna come on back. I am. I had the best little reading sprint. I was reading BookTube Prize Candidate and Jane Austen's Bookshelf, and I won't tell you which one I was reading at which time so that you can't mark my reactions, just in case you saw my facial reactions or my gestures or expressions, whatever. I won't tell you which one of the books I was reading when, so you won't know. Maybe you would know. I don't know. So, this is on the octafinals list for the BookTube Prize. So it's one of the books that I am reading to rank so that my ballot can be cast for this round of the BookTube Prize. We're in the octafinals round, so we've been reading 6 books over the past 2 months. And so I will be able to tell you about this once this round wraps up. So my ballot is due on March 30th, which is next Monday. And I think the announcement video of which books move into the next round will be on Wednesday. I think it's on Wednesday, usually around midday. So that is one of the books, and I have one more to read after this. And then I'm also reading this book that I started telling you about in the live last week. This is Jane Austen's Bookshelf, subtitled A Rare Book Collector's Quest to Find the Women Writers Who Shaped a Legend. And the author is Rebecca Romney. And I've only read about 20 something pages. I haven't read that much into it, but I am loving it. I'm reading it kind of slowly because I am just like taking note of all the literary works that are mentioned and all the people, all the characters that we're meeting, all the real people's lives that are being mentioned here. So I'm eating it up. I'm just like luxuriating in reading it. So I'm not reading it quickly. I'm just enjoying it. So these are 2 of the books that I am currently reading. And then I showed you the book that I got today. Well, actually, I got it a few days ago. It came in, I think, on Saturday evening, but I saved it to open it with you. Beneath by Ariel Sullivan. This was a gift from Ballantine Books, which is one of the imprints of Penguin Random House. And then I'm also reading The Grimkeys, The Legacy of Slavery in an American Family by Carrie K. Greenidge. And this is about a family, Grimkey family, who were, well, their father was a property owner and plantation owner. He had a few other businesses. I think he was also he had political office in South Carolina. And when he died, he made provision for his children to inherit his property, his tangible assets like gold. He left his wife some, it's like they measured gold by the weight. So he left her like some amount of pounds of gold, which I thought was just like so fascinating. So he left, in his will, he left a legacy for his children, which included property and tangible, maybe tangible is not the right word. Um, what's the word? He left them, you know, what's the word? He left them cash. He left them cash and possessions, including enslaved people. And then 2 of these daughters decided that they didn't want any part of it. They didn't want to live in the society where their legacy was built upon enslavement and profiting from trading in people's bodies. And so they moved to the North and pursued a life of abolitionist activism, as individuals, but also as members of a church. And so they are known, Angelina and Sarah Grimke are known as being rejecting of the lives that their families had built on this plantation in South Carolina and becoming active anti-slavery activists. So they wrote anti-slavery pamphlets. And they've been long known for that history. They've been long known for that contribution. But in this book, the author is giving us information about other members of their family, people who were not the white abolitionists, but had been born into this family because these two sisters, they had a brother who married, or no, I'm sorry, they had a brother who had children with an enslaved woman and produced three mixed race sons, who one of those sons had a daughter who was also very prolific writer and contributor in the Harlem Renaissance. So in this book, the author is reintroducing readers to this family and shining a limelight on not just these abolitionist sisters, but other people in the family, and also showing us how, even though they were known as being abolitionists, they were not necessarily about equal rights for people of African descent, because while they wanted to dispel with enslavement, they didn't necessarily want equality for Blacks. And so some of how that attitude was depicted in their private actions, how they treated their family members, whether or not they associated with them, even though they may have been pushing for the abolitionist movement and emancipation, they didn't necessarily want to be associated on an equal basis with people of that background. So very interesting. I haven't read too far into it, but enough to start getting a little bit of the gist of the family and why this book is so important. Because, sometimes people are known for one thing. And so it is really us sometimes that extrapolate people's attitudes into other situations. We think that because someone is like this in this regard, then this other thing that we would do if we were doing that, then they must also do that thing. So we start to give them characteristics that they don't necessarily claim to have. So we think that someone who was trying to speak out against enslavement must also have wanted people, once they weren't enslaved anymore, to be equal, to have all the access in society that someone who had never been enslaved, or someone who didn't have enslavement in their background or in their family, that they would want this person to have that same access. And it's not true. It's not true. There there's a lot of prejudice. There's a lot of different kinds of prejudice, different levels of prejudice. So you might not, they may have an issue with people actually being enslaved and some of the harsh treatments that they received in the situations. And so in the book, the author, we're talking about the Grimm kids. In the book, the author mentions this brother who actually fathered these three young men, that even in the introduction, in the synopsis, it tells us that he is known for being sadistic, violent, notoriously violent and sadistic is how he is described. And that's Sarah and Angelina's older brother, Henry. And so he fathered these three young men, but it also talks about examples of his violence, that he would physically abuse the enslaved members of the household. And there was a particular man, the butler in the family, who he would just like constantly beat upon and hit in his head and like throw him down the stairs and all of that, so that he eventually developed a condition. He developed like seizures and fits from, I'm guessing, a traumatic brain injury. And he's known for doing those things. So I understand why someone who grew up around that kind of violence, especially just, unprovoked violence, I could understand why someone who grew up in that kind of a background would say, well, I don't want any part of that. If you think that enslavement means that you could do physically with people's bodies as you wish, then I don't want any part of this. And so we understand why these two sisters might have moved away and started to pursue this life away from that whole culture. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they want those people who had been previously enslaved to have the same life as someone who was their enslaver. So getting a lot of very important information in this one, and I picked it up because we had considered reading it as a buddy read for Black History Month, and we didn't, so I wanted to read it anyway. So Also, in the book, the author mentioned something that made me think about the book that we actually did attempt to buddy read, which was um, Julia Chin, the vice president's black wife, the untold story of the life of Julia Chin, by Amrita Chakrabarty Myers. And in this book, I took a picture and shared it with my friends because the situation that was described between Julia Chin and her owner, the man that she had the relationship with, Richard Johnson, who became the president of the United States. That situation is also mentioned here, where the author is talking about um, white men, white men wanting to bring or wanting to introduce their black mistresses into society, and how the white women, like the two sisters that I mentioned here, how white women felt about that. And so I found it interesting that that book that we eventually did buddy read had a topic that was mentioned here. So those are the books that I am currently reading. So thank you so much for joining me for the reading sprint and for being here for live. My voice is not so great, so I'm going to sign off. Also need to go pick up my kiddo from school very soon. So thank you so much for spending a little time with me. If you are watching live, would love to know if you did the reading sprint, what you read. Emmy, I know you said you might not read, but you might watch something. Let me know what you watched. Send me some links. I don't mind. I no, maybe you can't share the links on here, but thank you so much for the recommendation. I am going to check out the video that you told me about. So next time we come on live, hopefully I'll be able to tell you if I watched it and what I thought. So feel free to share other recommendations. If you are watching this as a recording, thank you so much for being here as well. I know some of my friends watch these later because they're not able to watch them during the daytime. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. And I'm not sure if I'll be on here tomorrow. If I can, I will come on around the same time, between 1:15 and 1:30, and spend about an hour or so. If I can't come on tomorrow, then I won't be back until Thursday, because Wednesday I definitely won't be on here. But if I am off until Thursday, then hopefully I'll have more books to talk to you about. So thank you so much for spending a part of your day with me. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Emmy said she just doom scrolled on YouTube Shorts. I do that too. I'm probably going to do that after we log off. So see you guys tomorrow, or Thursday. And until then, happy reading. Bye.